The cold night was deeper than usual. Winter clouds covered the moon, and only a few weak streetlights glowed along the empty road. The wind cut through the darkness like a sharp blade, carrying with it the kind of chill that made people walk faster, heads down, worried only about reaching home. But one man was still outside, moving slowly, as if the world around him was whispering a warning. His name was Adrian. Adrian had finished work late. The streets were silent, and even cars were rare at this hour. As he walked, he felt something strange, like he was not alone. The air carried a faint sound, almost impossible to hear. He stopped. The wind blew again, and there was a weak cry. Very soft, very small, almost like the voice of a child. He turned his head, scanning the empty street. No one, only shadows dancing under the streetlight. Then he heard it again, a quiet, trembling sound, a sound of pain, a sound of fear. Adrian followed it, curiosity rising in his chest. He walked to the corner of the street, then behind an old building where snow had piled up into soft white mounds. The wind pushed the snow around, creating small, icy storms. And there, half buried in the snow, he saw something. At first, he thought it was a small injured person, but when he stepped closer, he realized the truth. It was a girl, but not human. Her skin was pale blue and glowing faintly under the snow. Thin, glowing lines moved slowly across her arms, like living light trying to protect her. Her hair was silver white, scattered across the snow like frozen threads. She was shaking uncontrollably. Every breath she took was short and painful, her chest rising and falling like she was drowning in air. Adrian froze in shock. People passed by the street earlier, but no one stopped. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they didn't understand what they were seeing. Or maybe they simply didn't care. But Adrian could not walk away. He moved closer and knelt beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened slowly. Bright, golden eyes, filled with fear and confusion. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Cold, too cold. Her hand twitched weakly in the snow. Adrian looked around. No one else was coming. No one else was helping. The wind blew harder, making her shiver even more. Her glowing skin dimmed for a moment. That scared him more than anything. She was dying, right in front of him. He pulled off his coat and wrapped it around her trembling body. Her skin was ice cold, colder than anything he had ever touched. "You'll die if you stay here," he whispered. "I have to take you inside." Her eyes widened again in fear, not trusting him. But she was too weak to resist. When Adrian picked her up, she let out a small cry. Her temperature dropped even more, and the glowing lines under her skin flickered like a dying light. He carried her through the snow-covered street. His heart was beating fast, each step filled with urgency. She felt lighter than a normal human, almost weightless, like her bones were fragile. Her head rested against his chest, but her breathing was uneven. Every few seconds, her body twitched from the cold. Inside his apartment, he kicked the door shut behind him and rushed to place her near a heater. The soft warmth spread through the room, but she didn't move. Her skin remained cold, her breathing weak. Adrian spoke gently, trying to calm her. "You're safe now. You're inside. You'll be okay." But her eyes remained half open, staring into nothing. Her fingers trembled. Her glowing energy lines turned faint. Adrian grabbed blankets, wrapped them around her, and rubbed her hands to create warmth. Slowly, very slowly, the glowing lines brightened again. Her chest rose a little more strongly. After a few minutes, she opened her eyes again. She stared at him, confused, afraid, but alive. "Why help?" she whispered. "Because nobody else did," Adrian answered. "And you needed help." Her golden eyes softened for a moment, but then she tried to sit up suddenly, panicking. No, they will find me. They are coming." Adrian frowned. "Who?" She shook her head weakly, breath trembling. "Hunters, they follow me. They feel my energy." She touched the glowing symbol on her neck. The light pulsed faster, as if warning her. She began shaking again, not from the cold this time, but from fear. Adrian moved closer. "You're safe here. No one knows you are inside my home." She grabbed his wrist suddenly, her cold fingers gripping tightly. "No, They always find they follow my light. Please, I... Her voice broke completely. Tears formed in her glowing eyes. Outside, the wind howled again. But this time, there was another sound hiding inside the wind, a distant metallic hum. A vibration. A presence. Adrian didn't understand what or who was coming, but he felt one thing clearly. This night was no longer normal, and this girl was in far more danger than he thought. He looked at her frightened face. Dawn. He looked at her frightened face. I don't know who they are. I don't know why they want you, but I won't let anything happen to you. As he said these words, the metallic hum outside grew louder, slow, heavy, dangerous. Adrian stood up and walked toward the window to look outside. Something was moving in the darkness. Something not human. And it was looking for her. The apartment was silent except for the small heater humming in the corner. The alien girl lay wrapped in blankets, her glowing skin slowly returning to life. Adrian stayed close, watching her breathing become steady again. But his mind was far from calm. The strange metallic sound outside still echoed in his ears. He stepped quietly to the window, pulling the curtain only a little. Snow continued to fall, but the street outside was no longer empty. Something tall moved behind a parked car. A shape, dark, slow, unnatural. Adrian felt a cold fear rise inside him. He let the curtain fall back. He turned to the girl. She stared at him with wide golden eyes, like she already knew what he had seen. "They are close," she whispered. Her voice trembled. Adrian crouched beside her. "Who are they?" She shook her head, trying to speak, but the words refused to come. Her breathing quickened again. The glowing symbol on her neck pulsed fast, too fast. It was like her body was warning her. Adrian placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're safe here. They won't get inside." But she shook her head again. "Not safe. Not safe anywhere. They hunt my kind, they can smell our energy." Her eyes darted to the window, fear rising again like a storm. For a few seconds, Adrian didn't know what to say. He had rescued a freezing alien girl, brought her home, and now deadly hunters were outside searching for her. This wasn't something he ever imagined happening in his life. "Listen," he said softly. "Tell me your name." She blinked slowly. "Lyra," she whispered. "Okay, Lyra," Adrian said gently. "I'm Adrian. You're not alone anymore. I'll help you." Her lips trembled, like she wanted to believe him, but couldn't. Suddenly, the heater flickered. The light dimmed, then brightened again. Lyra's eyes widened. "They're scanning. The machines, they use energy waves," she whispered. "If they feel my energy inside this place, they will break the door." Adrian clenched his jaw. His heart beat faster, but he refused to show fear. He stood and walked to the door, checking the lock, pushing a chair against it. It wasn't much, but it was something. The hum grew louder outside. Slow, heavy, like a giant metallic creature dragging its feet across the snow. Adrian returned to Lyra. "What do they want from you?" She hesitated. Then she whispered, "My body, my light, can open something they need." Her voice broke with fear. "They want power. They want control. And they want me alive." Adrian swallowed. This was getting worse by the second. Suddenly, boom! A loud metallic thud hit something outside. Maybe a trash bin, maybe a wall. The sound vibrated through the window. Lyra flinched and pulled the blankets closer. "They found the right building," she whispered. Adrian rushed to the window and looked outside again. A tall figure moved through the fog. Its eyes glowed red, scanning the houses one by one. Then, the red beam stopped on his building. Adrian froze. The hunter tilted its head like it detected something. They began walking slowly toward the entrance of the building. Adrian stepped back and whispered, "We need to move." Lyra shook her head weakly. "I can't walk far. My body is too cold. My energy is weak." Adrian looked around the room. He needed time, a plan, anything. He grabbed an extra blanket, wrapped it around Lyra tighter, and lifted her into his arms. She was still cold, but not as freezing as before. "We're going to survive this," he said firmly. Outside, the footsteps grew louder, closer. Every step felt like a countdown. Adrian held Lyra close, moved to the back door of the apartment, and opened it slowly. The cold wind rushed in again, but it was silent outside. "We leave now," he whispered. Lyra nodded weakly, trusting him fully for the first time. As they stepped into the dark alley behind the building, a deep metallic voice echoed from the front. "Energy signature detected. Target found." Adrian didn't look back. He just ran. Cold night air rushed over Adrian as he ran through the narrow alley with Lyra in his arms. Snow crunched under his feet, and his breath formed clouds in the darkness. He didn't dare look back. The metallic voice still echoed in his mind. Target found. Lyra's eyes fluttered open as he held her close. Her skin glowed softly again, but her body trembled with weakness. "Adrian," she whispered, "they can track us. They follow the light inside me." Adrian breathed hard but kept running. "Then we keep moving until we find a place where they can't." He turned a corner, slipping slightly on the icy ground. The alley opened into another street, quiet and empty, but he felt exposed. Too much open space. Lyra lifted a weak hand and touched Adrian's arm. "Stop just a moment." He slowly set her down behind a dumpster, hidden from the streetlights. Her breathing was shallow, like each breath hurt. Adrian knelt beside her. "Are you in pain?" She nodded slowly. "My body, it is not built for this cold. My energy is fading. They will reach us soon." He swallowed hard. "Then tell me what's happening. Who are they? Why are they hunting you?" Lyra closed her eyes briefly, gathering strength. The glowing mark on her neck pulsed faintly. "My people, we are peaceful. We do not fight. Our bodies create energy, warm, living energy. It powers our ships, our cities. We share it freely," she whispered. "But another race, the Varric hunters, they want our life for themselves." Her voice cracked. "They capture us, drain us, use our life force to power their machines." Adrian clenched his fists. The idea of anyone draining her life made his blood boil. "How did you get here?" he asked. Lyra's eyes filled with sadness. "Our ship was attacked. Many were taken. I escaped in a small pod, but it crashed on this planet." She looked at her shivering hands. "I hid in the cold. I thought they would not follow me this far." "But they did," Adrian whispered. She nodded. "The Varric never stop. Even one surviving member of my kind is valuable to them. Too valuable." Suddenly, boom! A loud metallic crash echoed down the street. Adrian's heart jumped. The hunters were close again. Lyra's glow flickered like a dying flame. She grabbed Adrian's sleeve with surprising strength. "Listen," she whispered urgently. "There is something important you must know. My light, this energy inside me, is connected to a beacon that calls my people. If I am safe long enough, I can activate it." Adrian's eyes widened. "So your people can come get you?" "Yes," she breathed. "But I need time, and warmth, and safety. Without those, I will not survive long enough to call them." Another metallic thud echoed closer. Heavy footsteps. Slow. Hunting. Adrian looked around the alley urgently. They needed shelter. Somewhere warm. Somewhere hidden. He lifted Lyra again. She winced in pain, but nodded for him to go. He ran along the side of an old warehouse, its walls covered in frost and graffiti. Warm air flowed faintly from a vent near the ground. A heating system? A boiler room? He crouched and examined the vent. It was loose. Perfect. He pushed the metal aside and crawled inside, gently pulling Lyra with him. Warm steam filled the tight space, fogging his breath and warming her skin. The moment she felt the heat, her glow brightened slightly, like a spark of life returning. "You did well," she whispered weakly. "This warmth will help me a little." Adrian sat close to her, keeping his hand on her arm to share his body heat too. Outside, a heavy shadow passed by the vent. The red scanning light swept across the alley. Adrian held his breath. Lyra closed her eyes, trying to stay calm. The hunter stood silent for a moment. Then, energy trace, low. Continue search. Its footsteps moved away. Adrian let out the breath he'd been holding. Lyra opened her eyes again. "You saved me," she whispered. He shook his head. "Not yet, but I will." She looked at him for a long moment. Fear fading, hope rising. "Adrian," she said softly, "if my people arrive, they will know your name." Before he could respond, a sudden, sharp sound echoed deeper inside the warehouse. Not from outside, from inside. Adrian and Lyra froze. Someone else was in the building. The sound echoed again, deep inside the warehouse walls. A metal clang, slow and heavy, like someone dragging machinery across concrete. Adrian stiffened. Lyra's eyes widened, her glow dimming slightly in fear. "That sound," she whispered, "it isn't human." Adrian pressed a finger to his lips and listened closely. The warehouse was old, full of pipes and heating ducts, but this sound wasn't natural. It had rhythm, weight, purpose. Then they heard it again, another metallic drag followed by a low, mechanical growl. "They're inside," Adrian said quietly. Lyra nodded, swallowing hard. Varric hunters do not only follow from outside. They break inside any structure where they sense a trace. They must have followed the small burst of energy I made. Adrian felt frustration rising. You need heat to survive, but heat shows them where we are. It's like a trap. Lyra looked down, her shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry." Adrian shook his head softly. "Don't be. This isn't your fault." A shadow moved across the far end of the duct. A wave of cold metal scent filled the air. Adrian's heart pounded. He peeked through the vent cover into the warehouse. The lights flickered from old wiring, casting long, trembling shadows. And then he saw it. A Varric hunter stepped into view. Its metallic body stood nearly 7 feet tall, armor plated with dark steel, its limbs sharp and angular. Red-lit eyes scanned the room, and the mechanical hum of energy pulsed through its chest. It was built for tracking, built for hunting, built for killing. Adrian ducked back quickly. Lyra saw the fear on his face. "Is it here?" "Yes," he whispered. "It's only a few meters from us." The hunter's footsteps echoed through the large hall, slow, merciless, patient. It tilted its head every few steps, listening for even the smallest movement. Lyra shivered though the vent was warm. "If it finds us, it will take me, and it will kill you." Adrian clenched his jaw. "Then we can't let it find us." But before he could plan further, clang! The hunter slammed its clawed hand into a metal beam, making a sharp, echoing crash. Energy signature, trace detected. Its voice growled. "Target near." Adrian pulled Lyra deeper into the narrow duct. The metal creaked softly under their movement, soft but enough. The hunter snapped its head toward the sound. It began walking straight toward the vent. Lyra gasped quietly. Adrian held her tight. There was nowhere to run. The duct was too narrow to escape quickly. The hunter stopped directly in front of their hiding spot. Adrian held his breath. The red scanning light moved across the vent. If it sensed even one spark of Lyra's light, they were finished. Then the hunter did something unexpected. It raised its arm. A sharp mechanical needle extended from its wrist, glowing faintly blue. It stabbed the needle through the vent. Lyra let out a quiet cry as the tip missed her face by inches. Adrian acted instantly. He grabbed a loose metal pipe lying inside the duct. Old, rusted but solid. And with all the strength fear gave him, he slammed the pipe into the needle, breaking it off completely. The hunter roared, an ear-piercing mechanical scream. It punched the vent panel, tearing it halfway open. Adrian dragged Lyra back even farther, but the duct trembled under the hunter's weight. It was going to rip the whole thing open. Lyra's glow flickered again. "Adrian, I cannot run. I cannot hide. I will slow you down. Let me go." "No," he said fiercely. "I'm not leaving you. Humans don't abandon someone who needs help." Her eyes softened with emotion, but fear remained. Outside the vent, the hunter tore another piece of metal away. Sparks flew. Its claws reached inside, searching blindly for them. Adrian's mind raced. They had only one chance. A broken power cable hung from the ceiling. It sparked occasionally, dangerous but close. "Lyra," he whispered urgently. "Light, can you send even a small burst?" She hesitated. "Maybe, but we'll show them." "Do it," Adrian said, but not toward the hunter. "Up there, toward that cable." Lyra weakly lifted her hand. A small beam of warm light shot upward and hit the cable. The cable exploded in sparks. They rained down onto the wet floor. Electricity surged. The hunter stepped directly onto the charged puddle. Zatzak! A violent electric shock blasted through its metal body. The entire warehouse shook. The hunter screamed and collapsed, its sensors dimming, sparks shooting from its joints. Adrian and Lyra stared through the vent in disbelief. She looked at him with wonder. Human creativity saved us. But before Adrian could speak, another metallic growl echoed from deeper in the warehouse. More than one hunter was here. The warehouse shook with the dying crackle of electricity. Smoke drifted across the floor where the first Varric hunter had fallen, its body twitching with leftover sparks. For a moment, there was silence, cold, heavy silence. Adrian exhaled shakily. We bought ourselves time. Lyra leaned weakly against the metal vent. Her glow was brighter from the heat, but her body still trembled. But not much. The second one is close. Before Adrian could respond, a new sound echoed through the warehouse. Not footsteps this time. A low, vibrating hum, like a giant machine powering up. Adrian's heart dropped. They're activating something. Lyra's golden eyes widened. They're calling reinforcements. They don't want to lose me again. Adrian clenched his teeth. Then we leave. Now. He helped Lyra out through the loose vent cover, his hands shaking slightly from adrenaline. The warm duct had kept them hidden, but it was now a death trap if more hunters arrived. The warehouse's back door stood across the room, half broken and rusted. Adrian held Lyra close and began moving slowly, quietly, toward it. But the floor betrayed them. A piece of broken metal slipped under his shoe, scraping loudly against the concrete. Instantly, a roar shook the building. A massive hunter stepped out from the shadows, bigger than the first. Its armor was bulkier, reinforced with glowing veins of energy. Its red eyes blazed like twin lasers. Secondary targets detected, it growled. Adrian pulled Lyra behind a stack of crates as the hunter stomped toward them. Each step was heavy enough to make dust fall from the ceiling. We can't outrun that, Adrian whispered. Lyra closed her eyes. There's a small chance, but it is dangerous. What chance? He asked urgently. She pointed weakly to a large boiler tank near the wall. If you break the pressure valve, it will release steam thick enough to hide us. Adrian looked at the rusted metal tank. And how do I break it? Hit the valve with something metal. Hard. The hunter slammed a crate aside, its claws tearing through it like paper. Adrian scrambled to his feet and grabbed a long iron rod lying on the floor. Lyra watched him, fear and trust mixing in her eyes. He ran to the boiler, lifted the rod, and smashed it into the valve. Clang. Nothing. The hunter turned toward the sound. Adrian hit it again. Clang. Still nothing. The hunter charged toward him. Lyra screamed, Adrian. He hit it a third time. Crack. Steam exploded from the pipe, flooding the room in thick white fog. The hunter roared, blinded, swinging wildly. Adrian rushed back to Lyra, grabbed her hand, and pulled her toward the back door. The fog hid them, but the hunter's sensors pierced some of the steam. Targets escaping, it snarled. Adrian shoved the door open. Cold air blasted their faces, but freedom was on the other side. Lyra stumbled. Her legs buckled. Adrian, wait. He caught her before she hit the ground. Lyra, come on, stay with me. I can't, she whispered. Her glow flickered dangerously low. My energy dropping. Adrian lifted her into his arms and stepped outside. Snow crunched under his feet. The alley behind the warehouse was dimly lit, deserted, and freezing. But then, a beam of red light shot out of the warehouse and scanned the alley. They know where we are. Adrian whispered. He rushed forward, ducking behind an old car. Lyra's head rested weakly on his shoulder, her breathing shallow. Adrian, she whispered, voice fading. If I lose too much light, I will not wake. Fear stabbed him like a knife. No, I'm not losing you. The ground trembled. The second hunter burst out of the warehouse, steam rushing behind it like a dragon's breath. It scanned the alley, turning its massive head side to side. Adrian ducked lower behind the car. His heart thudded so loud he feared the hunter could hear it. Lyra weakly pointed to the far end of the alley, a narrow staircase leading down into an old underground storage room. There, she whispered. War machines inside. Maybe enough to help me. Adrian nodded. He crouched low, holding her close, and began moving toward the staircase as quietly as possible. But the hunter suddenly stopped. Its red eyes locked straight in their direction. Energy trail confirmed, it growled. Adrian froze. The hunter lifted its arm. A plasma weapon unfolded. And then, boom! A blast of energy hit the car beside them, throwing Adrian and Lyra to the ground. Snow burst into the air like an explosion. The hunter stepped forward and raised its weapon again. Snow fell through the air like ash as the explosion faded. Adrien is errant. The blast had thrown him and Lyra across the alley, his back slamming against the frozen ground. Pain shot through him, but he forced himself to move. Lyra lay beside him, weak and barely glowing. Her eyes fluttered open. Adrian, you must run. No, Adrian said, grabbing her hand. I'm not leaving you. A heavy metallic stomp echoed. Then another. The Varric hunter emerged through the swirling snow, its armor glowing with red veins of energy. Smoke rose from its plasma weapon as it aimed again. Adrian pulled Lyra behind a dumpster just as another blast hit the wall above them, melting metal and concrete. Your courage, Lyra whispered, it is rare, but courage alone cannot stop them. Adrian scanned the alley. They were trapped, high walls on both sides, no door nearby except the small staircase leading underground. The hunter's footsteps shook the ground with each step. Suddenly, Lyra gripped Adrian's sleeve with trembling hands. My light, I can give a small burst, enough to confuse it for a moment. But if I do, I may collapse. Adrian shook his head. No, I'll find another way. The hunter stepped closer, scanning the area with bright red beams. Its voice growled. Energy signature detected. Target near. Adrian's heart raced. He had seconds. His eyes darted around, then landed on a broken pipe sticking out of the wall. Steam hissed from it in short bursts. Steam, heat, pressure. A desperate idea formed in his mind. He lifted Lyra gently. Hold on to me. She nodded weakly. Adrian moved fast, crouching low, keeping the dumpster between them and the hunter. When he reached the steam pipe, he found an old valve well beside it. If I open this all the way, he whispered, it might blind it again. Lyra stared at him, eyes glowing faintly with hope. Humans, you always find a way. The hunter stepped into view again. It turned its massive head and locked onto Adrian instantly. Target confirmed. Adrian grabbed the valve and turned it with all his strength. At first, nothing happened. The hunter aimed its weapon. Then, whoosh! A massive jet of white-hot steam blasted into the alley, filling everything with thick fog. The hunter roared angrily, scanning wildly. Adrian used the cover to sprint toward the underground staircase, holding Lyra tightly. Each step felt like running through a nightmare. His legs burned, his breath toward his throat, but he didn't stop. Behind them, the hunter stomped through the steam, its claws scraping the walls. Adrian reached the staircase and hurried down into darkness. The door at the bottom was old and rusted. He kicked it open and stepped inside. A wave of warm air washed over them. Old heating machines lined the room, humming softly. It was warmer here, warm enough to help Lyra's failing body. He gently placed her on a dusty blanket he found in a corner. Her glow brightened a little. Adrian, she whispered, voice breaking, you saved me again. But the relief didn't last long. Boom! The hunter landed at the top of the staircase. Its glowing eyes shone down the dark stairwell. Adrian grabbed an old wrench from the floor. It was small, rusted, and almost useless, but it was all he had. The hunter stepped down the stairs, slow and confident. You are alone, human. Surrender. Adrian stood between Lyra and the monster, gripping the wrench tighter, even though his hands shook. I won't surrender, he said. And I'm not alone. The hunter aimed its weapon. Lyra gathered her strength. Her eyes glowed bright for a moment. Adrian, step aside, she whispered. He turned to her in confusion. Then he saw it, her body glowing brighter than ever before. Not weak, not fading, transforming. Her voice echoed, filled with power she had kept hidden. I'm not alone either. A burst of light shot from her palms, and the entire room exploded into blinding brilliance. The underground room filled with a blinding flash, pure, golden light bursting from Lyra's hands. The walls shook, dust falling like rain. The hunter roared as the beam struck its armored chest, forcing it backward up the staircase. Adrian shielded his eyes, stunned. Lyra, who moments earlier could barely breathe, now glowed like a living star. Her body floated slightly above the ground, light pouring from the symbol on her neck. But her face showed pain. This power was not natural for her. It was a last resort. The hunter, though shaken, slammed its metal foot into the stairs, anchoring itself. Its eyes glowed brighter, filled with fury. Energy level, critical. Capture immediately. It raised its weapon, firing a blast of red plasma through the golden light. Lyra cried out, her beam flickering. Adrian didn't think. He moved. He grabbed a metal sheet lying on the floor and stepped in front of the blast. The sheet absorbed the hit, melting in his hands, burning him, but protecting Lyra from the worst of it. Adrian, she screamed. He dropped the molten metal, gasping in pain, but he didn't step back. Keep going, Lyra. I'm here. Her eyes filled with something more powerful than energy. Hope. The hunter charged down the stairs again. Adrian grabbed the fallen wrench from earlier. Pathetic against such a monster, but he held it like a sword. The hunter swung its giant arm. Adrian ducked and hit its knee joint with the wrench. A useless hit, but it got the hunter's attention. The massive machine turned to him. You are not important, it growled. Adrian spat blood, raising the wrench again. Maybe not to you. Behind him, Lyra's glow intensified. But I matter to her. The hunter aimed its weapon straight at Adrian's heart. Lyra screamed, no. The symbol on her neck blazed with violent light. Adrian felt a shockwave of warmth. And then, boom, a burst of energy exploded from Lyra, hitting the hunter like a meteor. Its armor shattered, pieces flying across the room. The machine roared in agony and crashed onto the concrete, sparks shooting from every joint. Adrian stumbled backward. Lyra collapsed to her knees, her glow dimming fast. Adrian rushed to her side and caught her before she fell. Her breathing was shallow, her voice weak. I used too much. The light inside me is almost gone. Adrian's heart twisted. Stay with me, Lyra. Your people, your beacon, you have to call them. She looked at him with fading golden eyes. I need warmth. A lot of warmth. Only then, I can send a signal. Adrian glanced around. The old machines hummed gently, but they weren't enough. Then he saw it. A giant industrial furnace at the far wall, still glowing with low heat. He carried Lyra toward it desperately. She touched his face with a trembling hand. Adrian, if I fail, thank you for giving me hope. He shook his head fiercely. You're not failing. Not now. He placed her beside the furnace and turned every knob he could find. The old metal groaned, heat slowly rising. Flames bloomed softly inside. Lyra closed her eyes and leaned toward the warmth. Her glow flickered, then brightened, then steadied. Adrian held her hand tightly. The symbol on her neck began to shine again, pulsing faster and stronger. Then it shot a narrow beam of golden light upward, piercing the ceiling and the sky above. The beacon, a call across the stars. Lyra's voice trembled, but strength returned to her. They will come. My people, they heard me. Outside, the night sky began to change. A soft hum vibrated through the air, not mechanical, not hostile. Something beautiful. A shimmering light appeared above the warehouse. A ship, smooth, silver, glowing with the same warmth as Lyra, descended slowly. Tears filled her golden eyes. Adrian, they found me. He smiled through exhaustion. Told you you weren't alone. The ship landed silently. A warm light opened from its hull, and figures of Lyra's species stepped out, tall, peaceful, glowing with gentle energy. Lyra stood shakily, but Adrian supported her. Her people approached and bowed their heads slightly to him. One of them spoke softly. Human, you protected one of our own. For this, your name will be remembered." Lyra turned to Adrian, her hand in his. "You saved my life," she whispered, when no one else did. A soft tear rolled down her glowing cheek. "And I will never forget you." Adrian smiled, tired but proud. The ship's light wrapped around Lyra gently, lifting her up. Before she entered, she looked back one last time. "Goodbye, Adrian. One human heart saved a life tonight." The ship rose into the sky, brighter than the stars, and disappeared into the endless dark, leaving Adrian standing alone in the snow. But knowing the universe was now a little brighter because he cared,